Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Black Digital Media TV. I'm Laron Barber, as you know, and I have a wonderful co-host, Gina. How are you today, Gina?
I'm doing well. Thank you, Laurent.
Good, good, good. I always say this, but I just can't say it enough, and I'm going to start it out like I always do. We have an exciting guest today, and I'm really excited for this show today. We have Justin Parks.
Hello,
Justin,
everybody.
how you doing today, Justin? How's it going?
I'm doing good. And how about yourself?
I'm doing good, brother. Good, good, good. Well, listen, let me just kind of give you a little bit of information on Justin, and then we're just going to get right into the show because we can't wait for Justin to tell his story. We've been ready for this for a while. So, Justin, he is a fitness coach. He's a businessman. He's a lupus warrior, right on, stroke survivor, and a heart attack survivor and aspiring YouTuber. When we met Justin and we had our pre-talk, you know, just you know, Justin said he wanted to do things to aspire and to just, build his legacy and just do things in the community. And I just told Justin, listen, brother, you have no idea how much of an inspiration. He inspired me even more. He's an inspiration. So he's doing exactly what he says he wants to do. And we just can't wait for him to tell his story so he can continue to inspire. That's why we say inspired by Justin Parks. So thank you for being with us today, Justin.
Oh, no problem. It's a pleasure to be here.
Well, good, brother. And we're gonna
Yeah.
get right into the show so you can do what you do. I'm excited. And I'm gonna turn it over to Gina, and Gina will introduce Justin, and we'll start the show. Gina.
Thanks, Laurent. Before we start, if you're watching from Facebook, please make sure that you give Facebook permission to show your comments on StreamYard by going to streamyard.com/Facebook. And that way we can see your comments and be able to interact with the viewers. Because we want this to be a discussion. Even though at the end we always go back and check comments for the thing, we do want there to be a conversation that's taking place. And the topic is going to be one. If you're on my Lupus page or in the community, you definitely do not want to miss today's episode. Okay? So now on the show, Justin, welcome. The
Oh,
reason why I brought Justin on is because I was literally just flipping through Instagram and his profile popped up. And the one thing that stood out was that he was a lupus warrior. Everything else was great as well. He's a fitness expert and all that, but the fact that he's a lupus warrior stood out because he's also a man, and we don't hear about a lot of men with lupus because we all think that lupus is kind of this woman's disease. So I definitely wanted to have Justin on the show today to talk about lupus from a man's perspective, but also about his journey. It's such an inspirational journey. And, I'm going to stop talking here because I could go on and on. Justin, thank you so much for being here on the show with us. I'm really excited to hear what you have to say, to hear more about your journey. And I know that you're going to be an inspiration to so many people who are watching, whether they're a woman or a man or a child. Just hearing about lupus from a guy's perspective I know is going to be interesting because we all have this idea that it's mostly women who've been diagnosed with
yeah.
lupus. So Justin, tell us a little bit about yourself, and then kind of start with life before, like Justin before lupus. What kind of led up to your diagnosis?
Oh, okay. First of all, I want to say it's an honor. It's a pleasure to be here. And it just feels great to see that people want to hear about my story and know what I went through. And, you feel inspired about my story and the stuff I'm about to tell you. Because the life, the environment I'm in right now, people, they heard my story and it just goes by the wayside. So I say it's always an honor and a pleasure and a privilege to share my story and give it out to people who want to hear it. But as far as it goes with me with lupus, I was relatively healthy from a baby boy all the way up until the age of like 22. And I'm gonna give you my background. I'm from the west side of Chicago. the projects, how you lived, and kind of like poverty, didn't have much. One of those typical stories from a single mother, all that. And I didn't have much to begin with, and all that stuff. And but I was healthy though. I didn't have a history of going to the hospital at all. I was a normal person. Everything was good on me health wise. And fast forward to when I was 22, 23, that's where it happened. My life changed, could you imagine being healthy and being like everybody else, and then one day it just started going south for you? And that's literally what happened with me. I remember being on the bus. I was in Chicago, and them times you have with yourself, and I was just like, God, whatever it is, I'm ready. And I was like 18 or 19 or something. I was like, just throw it at me. I'm ready for it. And I can remember that vividly to this day. And I was like, I'm gonna conquer. I had big dreams. When we young, you have big dreams and aspirations. And who knew that this would get through at me and have such an impact on my life? But anyway, 22, 23, my first the beginning of lupus started. I had stomach pain real bad, and it was horrible. Then I was getting sleepy every day for no reason. I was tired. I started losing weight. My hair fell out. It thinned out, and they didn't know what was going on with me. And I would start vomiting black stuff one night. I remember it was just black, and they didn't know what was going on. I was going to the doctors. My testicles had swollen up too, to like the size of a small apple. And I was asking people around me, my father and his friends, like, your balls ever swole up like this? And they couldn't relate to it. They was like, no, and it was just a bad. And then you didn't have no money, no inheritance or nothing coming for you. You just going through life and just experiencing this stuff, and you're the only person dealing with it. So fast forward, that all went past. I went to the doctor, and the doctor said, "Oh, I think you might have lupus." I said, "What is lupus?" And he gave me a pamphlet. I seen the stuff. Then I went on Wikipedia and I researched it a little bit, and I said, "Oh my God." And I was just like, you know what? I hope this ain't true. This can't be true. This cannot be true. So fast forward, this was in that like 2011, towards the end of 2011. I would say October, somewhere like that. 2012, around December, February, I went down again in the hospital. I had pneumonia this time, fighting for my life. I was in the ICU. My temperature was like 104. Yeah, it was real bad. I almost died, really. But I was in shape then. Health always been an aspiration of mine, because as a little young boy, I was always fat. I used to dream about being skinny. It was unattainable. It was like everybody around me was overweight. My mother, we come from obesity and poverty and struggle. And I used to always wonder, and I always had aspiration to lose weight and get in shape and improve my life. And I was gonna find that out. I made a promise to myself as a kid: when I grow up, I'm gonna be fit and I'm not gonna have this problem. The internet wasn't around and it wasn't easily accessible as it is today. So, but I made a promise to myself that I would get overweight, and turns out I did. Because of lupus. The lupus caused me to get on prednisone. It caused all these medications to get thrown at me, and my life just went slow down. Then I had 2 lung surgeries, one at 2 different times. And then I had a kidney issue, biopsies, bone marrow biopsies. but I had some strokes, you know. I lost a little vision in my right eye, you know, and stuff like that kept happening. I got on warfarin. I seen medications I'm gonna have to be on for the rest of my life, like warfarin. It was like a total swing for me. And on top of that, I'm still living in poverty. I have nothing. My mother ain't got nothing. My father ain't got nothing. So you gotta battle that fight outside of the hospital, you know. And luckily, I got a girlfriend who's been helping me. But other than that, I would be out of luck, you know. I'm a realist. I'm a truth teller. You know, a lot of people won't like what I say, but my mother, she's the biggest Christian you will ever find. And she loved the Lord, but ain't never gave me a dime. Ain't never gave me a single dime. But that's a whole nother story. But anyway, it's just a struggle. You know, you had then I go through that and I'm overweight now. I'm overweight. Then when I turned like 27, going into 28, I said, you know what? All of this stuff is self-inflicted. I didn't die already. Going through all that, I was like, I should be dead already. I was literally waiting to die. That's how depression hit me. And then what led up to the lung surgery was I had fluid on my lungs and it wouldn't stop. And it just kept coming. They'll go drain it, stick needles in my back and drain it out. That was the only way to get it out. And the second solution to this problem was to go in the lungs and patch up the lining, the pleural lining, and it would stop the fluid from building up. So it resulted to that. And I had to go through that 2 separate times, one for the left and one for the right. So it wasn't both lung surgeries done at the same time. It was at two different times. But anyway, I had to go through all that, you know, so it was draining to me. And I was like in my 20s, you know, what time you supposed to be enjoying life and doing all that. It was a really hard time for me. And nobody lifted me up. You know, you around poverty and people who not doing stuff with their life, all of it. And I had suicidal thoughts, you know. It was a very extremely rough time to me. But I said, I got to start doing something else. I got to see myself in a better light. So I said, I'm about to get in the best shape of my life I ever have. You know, I'm going to stop the drinking. I wasn't a heavy drinker. I'm still not a heavy drinker. I said, I'm going to stop the drinking. I'm going to stop eating junk. I'm going to stop hanging around all these negative influences. I'm going to be in the gym. I'm going to give it all I got. I'm going to drink water. I'm going to really focus. I'm going to go at home and look at YouTube videos. I'm going to take myself to the highest level possible. And I did that. I accomplished that.
So before you jump into all of the things that you did to kind of get you to this level, let's do a little bit of a recap, okay? I realized that we didn't really explain what lupus is. There might be people who are watching who are thinking, what's lupus? Yeah. And for those of you who are not aware, lupus is basically an autoimmune condition. Well, it is an autoimmune condition. And there are several different types of lupus. There's what's called the systemic lupus erythematosus. There's lupus, and there's even lupus that can be developed from time you're a baby. The type that Justin is referring to is systemic lupus because it's literally affected so many different organs in his body.
Yeah.
And the reason why I seem to be so knowledgeable is because about I want to say maybe 10 years ago now, I was also diagnosed with lupus. So I'm very familiar with the journey that Justin is on. And what I want everyone who's watching to understand is that every lupus patient is different. Lupus tends to affect every person who's diagnosed with it in a different way. There's some things that are common, like the hair loss, the stomach issues. Those tend to be common around lupus patients. Depression, which is something that you brought up just now, Justin, with the suicidal thoughts. That seems to be something that is kind of common with lupus patients as well. The fatigue, definitely one, because I remember experiencing extreme fatigue way back in the day when I was, when I was first diagnosed. So you went through a lot. I mean, you're talking about having a stroke,
That's
having
just the first
lung
half.
issues, a heart attack. We haven't even gotten to that part
Yeah.
yet. And having lung surgeries, and this is just in your 20s.
Yeah.
So if you don't mind me asking, that was in your 20s. How old are you now?
I'm 34. I just made 34.
Okay, so we have a few more years to go before,
Yeah.
because you have such an incredible story, and I didn't want to cut you off, but I did want to explain to our viewers exactly what lupus is all about. As an autoimmune condition is one where the body attacks itself.
It attacks itself.
And it's not like you can, cut off the area that's bothering you, because then you'd end up just dying. So you have it's basically where the immune system, your immune system is designed to attack anything that's bad that's coming into your body and get rid of it and make you well again. But in autoimmune conditions such as lupus, the immune system turns on your body and attacks the good stuff, it attacks the bad stuff, that attacks everything. So that's where, the complexity of lupus and other autoimmune conditions come in. And the thing is, like Justin was explaining, when you're diagnosed with lupus, you have all of these other conditions that love to kind of piggyback onto it. And by lupus affecting so many parts of his body, like the lungs, then you have your eyesight that was affected. And I'm going to let you continue, but I wanted to explain, in a little bit more detail what we're talking about here. So Justin, back to you.
Yeah. My fault about that. Yeah, lupus is very mysterious. The doctors really, the technology is getting better. They are finding more about it, but it's mysterious. Flares are periods of time where you good and then you not good. Your health like fluctuates through time, and it's no specific timetable. It can just happen at any moment, and you got to deal with it basically. So that's what lupus does. Like, you can be fine for 5 years and then bam, it's back. You know what I'm saying? It can go in remission. So it's periods of remissions and flare. And, it's everybody's story is different. Everybody has their own set of symptoms and all of that stuff. And you're unique because of that. So, but in my opinion, I've almost dealt with a lot of it. A lot of the symptoms I hear, I've dealt with it all. But back to my story, I was saying when I was 28, I said I was going to transform my body and I was going to get it in the best shape ever. Because a lot of this stuff is self-inflicted. We cause these wounds on ourselves that's self-inflicted. And just because I got lupus don't mean I'm exempt from this problem. So you got to stop eating like these people. You got to stop eating like drinking this stuff. You got to stop filling your body with negative things. And my strategy, and then you have to have a strategy. My strategy was to get in the best shape. You don't see a bodybuilder walking around with an oxygen tank, pulling that around. You don't see a bodybuilder carrying around medical supplies, and that's the strategy I had. I was like, I'm about to do what I can, the best I can do. And a lot of people leave this out. The doctors, when you're prescribed or diagnosed with something, the main message is work with your doctor to see if you can get off this medication. Work with but a lot of people leave that part out. You're supposed to be working with your doctor. What can you do to better yourself?
Exactly.
And that's the part I lacked for years. What am I doing to better my situation? Instead of blaming, instead of saying, if this happened, stop saying, oh, feel sorry for me, because that leads to depression. I got lupus. Okay, you had your sob story already. You had your pity party. How long you going to take that with you? And then you telling people your story. They really don't care. They're going to say, oh, I feel bad for you. And they're going to continue on with their life. Stop telling people that. That was my strategy. I was like, now I'm moving into a section in my life where you're going to feel power illuminate for me, because I'm at the highest level. I'm improving in so many areas. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to radiate. You're going to want to be like Justin Parker, because now I'm taking my weakness and turning it into a strength, because I have lupus. You ain't going to know. you're gonna say I'm powerful because of my thinking. It comes from the head. But anyway, I did that. I exceeded my goal. And before you know, I lost all the weight. People was telling me, dang, Justin, you look awesome. And I'm thinking like, I got a long way to go still. And you know, I was in a mental zone. I was just, and then my health improved. My hair grew back. And I was just in a zone of, and sometimes I wish I can capture that. To this day, I wish I can capture that moment. Like I was in the zone, I was just feeling so strong. And I was like, I ain't got lupus no more. It's gone. You know what I'm saying? It was just, I would stop taking the medication. You know what I'm saying? It was that powerful. Like my life was just, I felt in control. It, like the power was there. I was 28, young, in my prime. You know, and that was a beautiful time for me, you know. And fast forward, you know, I was off that medication for like 2-3 years. Then another stroke came, you know, and you start to resort back to your old ways, you know, drinking, you know, and eating what you want. And I didn't never got back to that size, but I put on a little bit more weight, and then it's back to reality again. I'm not off that little trip I was on, and then I had the stroke at the end of 2018, and then it put me down for like 2 months. This the part where I lost my eye, and then my head was hurting for like 2 months. I lost my job that I was working. Stuff went back south again, and I was like, dang. And then I slowly recovered. The vision never came back, but it was still a hard time for me financially. I was under stress trying to pay bills, and ain't nobody covering my back. I'm not getting no financial help for nowhere. I'm applying for unemployment. I mean, you know, SSI, the government denying me. I can't get no help from no family member. A few family members, but not the ones you would expect. And life is hard. Then I had that heart attack, I think, because of stress, because you know, I'm working out and stuff, but I'm thinking about paying bills. I'm thinking about my health. What's gonna do? And then lupus, how you paranoid like that? What's gonna happen to me next? But I had to readjust my thinking again. I said, you know what? We all in the same boat. If you healthy or not, you could die too, just like me. You know what I'm saying? At
That's
any
right.
moment,
That's right,
you
Justin.
know.
But I wanna mention, Justin, at this point. I want you to stay right here for just a second on this point when
Okay.
you talked about stress
Mm-hmm.
and eating. Just, I mean, if you go through some of your YouTube or some of your videos, I see you, eat drinking or fixing green drinks, eating healthy. How did you begin that process of changing your diet? Why was that so important? But just kind of speak to those two things, stress and eating, how those two things came about, or how those begin to help you do what you say, do what you can do to do the best you can. So how did you do those things and bring all that together, stress and eating?
So, uh, like I said, a lot of the stuff that we go through, you know, a lot of people like to put their problems off on the doctor. The doctor don't even know you. He don't even know what you do, and you trying to give it all to him to take care of. No, it's up to you to improve your health. At the end of the day, I respect that profession. I respect all of that stuff, but that doctor is human just like you. He got to go through all the stuff that you go through. He's a specialist. He's a professional. But at the end of the day, you know your body more than he does, you know? So my thing was, are you eating right? Are you drinking water? Are you not doing anything that's hazardous to your health? Are you smoking? Are you sitting around fumes all day? Stuff like that. You can add to your health. So that was a strategy I adapted. Are you eating right? You know, and what foods can I use to help me out in different ways? Like, how can I better my skin? How can I prevent another heart attack? What can I do? How can I play my role to better my situation? So that you gotta have a strategy in certain thing, and that's what I started doing.
So on your eating habits, and your eating regimen, Justin, did you have a certain time of day that you would do certain things that you would eat in the mornings, in the evenings, or how did you do that?
I want to say I started with I heard fasting was really good, and you giving your body a time to clear out and heal. And some people go years and years with the same regimen, and they're beating up their digestive system. You beating it up because you just don't let it rest, don't let it recuperate and heal and do that. So I put that in my diet, and then I started eating like at the peak when I was like 28. I did 8 meals a day, feeding on metabolism, and fasting. Fasting means no food, no calories. So you can have the vitamins, you can have the water, you can have stuff like that to help keep you going, but no calories. And that worked really well. And I began to see benefits and results. But yeah, a lot of the problems that we face are self-inflicted by the diet, point blank.
And Justin, talk about stress. Talk about stress. Why was that important, from family to friends, business, whatever you do? Why was that so important to your health as well, too? Speak to that.
I think
Before you move on to the stress part, there's a couple of things I wanted to clarify about the fasting, because this is one of the things I talk about a lot in one of my programs and on the lupus community, because right now I'm also doing a fast for like the next couple of weeks. But they're different. I want people to know that there are different types of fasts that you can do. You don't have fasting is about refraining from food. But there are different types of fasts that you can do, because I understand that not everybody can go without, all kinds of food. So there are liquid fasts that you can do. You can do intermittent fasting, which is where you basically eat within a
window,
5 or 6 hour block, and then you fast the rest of the 18 hours, and then you can do that again the next day. So that's one way. If you really want to challenge yourself, you can go for the 3 days of no food and just water, because what happens with your immune system is your immune system basically gets a reboot after the 3 days. And a lot of people don't realize that, because with lupus, your doctor puts you on these there are 2 medications that seem to be common among lupus patients. That's Plaquenil, or hydroxychloroquine, as the other name, and prednisone. And what Plaquenil does, it suppresses your immune system, because your immune system is what's attacking your body. But a lot of people don't realize that by healing your immune system, you can basically kind of eradicate the lupus symptoms that you're having. Your immune system is what needs to be fixed. And fasting is a really, really good way of doing this. Refrain from food for 3 days. It reboots your immune system, gets your body to a place. And I'm not saying that this is going to work for every single person. Don't get me wrong. This is not a one thing fixes everybody.
Exactly.
But fasting does help the immune system. Fix the immune system, you the entire body. Suppress it, which is what all these medications tend to do. The prednisone kind of bloats you up, and the Plaquenil suppresses your immune system, which then opens you up to other kinds of issues, because if your immune system is suppressed, then you're more susceptible to infections, right? So it's like a lose-lose kind of thing, but that's not where you want your body to be.
Right.
So that's why I kind of wanted to clarify the fasting part and how that does impact your immune system. So if anybody is interested in learning how to fast properly, you can certainly reach out to me and I can kind of guide you along, but there's so much information out there on the internet as well. So now that I've kind of clarified that, one other thing I wanted to mention that you brought up earlier, lupus is such a misunderstood illness. And I mentioned Plaquenil that most lupus patients take. Plaquenil is the one medication that has been prescribed, and I think it's the only medication there's a new one that came out. I think it's called Benlysta But Plaquenil has been prescribed for like 100 years. It's been the only lupus medication for like 100 years, simply because it is such a misunderstood disease, and it is so different in every lupus patient, but yet it's the same thing that gets prescribed to everyone until Benlysta came on the scene. And then, you know, they have other things that they're now like kind of trial and error. That's what I tend to notice among lupus patients, is this trial and error kind of thing in working with your doctors. And you brought up a really good point. Work with your doctors, but don't expect your doctor to do everything for you. Right? They cannot do everything for you, because you are different from the next lupus patient that comes in. They can only guide you, but you have to take matters into your own hands, like eating right, like Justin said. You can't sit down and shovel poison into your body and expect to get better. Nutrition is huge, and you can look for research anti-inflammatory diet. It's just a list of foods that really help to bring down the inflammation in your body. And with lupus, there's going to be a lot of inflammation. That's one of the things that that's kind of common among lupus patients as well. With you mentioned about applying for unemployment and applying for disability, and I applied for disability several years back. I was denied 3 times, and after the 3rd time, I said, you know what, that's it. And the reason why the lupus patients tend to get denied is because they look at a lot of lupus patients and they don't see an outward manifestation of what's going on within the body.
Yeah.
Right. And so there's a lot of misconception when it comes to people who who have been diagnosed with lupus, but they look really good on the outside. So you can't be that sick. That's the misconception. If you look at you, how is it that you're that sick? Yeah. So when it comes to applying for disability, a lot of lupus patients tend to get denied for that reason. They could have, pages and stacks and stacks and stacks of medical records, but you get looked at as being, well, you look really good to me, so how is it that you possibly have all of this stuff going on? All right, so I just kind of wanted to touch on all of those points, because I know a lot of people are watching and they're not familiar with lupus. So I wanted to just kind of clarify some of those. So LaRon was saying, if you could just talk a little bit about stress and how that affects, you living with an illness like lupus.
And Justin, before you answer that, I want to kind of give where I want you to go with that, because all kinds of stress, right? Friends, family, job, business, relationships. You may be eating all of this stuff and you're trying to stay fit, but if you're not relieving yourself of stress, that totally works against a lot of what your medicine is supposed to do and what you're doing to do healthy physically. Is that right? So just even if it's from a relationship, you got to get a handle on a way to relieve the stress in your life. Is that right?
Yeah, exactly. And another thing too, you got to stop depending on synthetic alternatives, man-made products to heal a natural born body. We are physical creatures of the earth. We got born by we living. We're not man-made. Stop relying on man-made products to heal you. Get some from the earth that's gonna heal you. The sun might heal you. Not saying go lie in the sun, but I'm just saying think naturally. How can you be healed naturally? As far as the stress goes, I've done a lot of research over the years that stress really kills you. Not even if you have a disease. If you are a normal, healthy person, stress can destroy. It can take out your hair. It can cause negative things to happen to you in your life. Talking bad about people, that's stress. You putting stress on another person. That's negative. Stop doing that. So, stress will affect you. It is real. It does cause the physical changes in the body, so don't be a part of it. Don't be a part of negative talk. Don't be doing negative things. And that stress caused my heart attack. Worrying. Stop worrying all the time. That's what I used to do. Worry about my situation all the time. Stop worrying. Do what you can, do your best, and still be active. Are you still working out? Are you still drinking water? Are you doing whatever you can to negate those issues that you have? You know, are you doing things to mitigate the problems in your life? So that's a strategy you need to work on. Don't argue with people. That's bringing stress to your life. You destroying your temple. And you know, always keep that in mind. You know, stay out of stressful situations. Don't be arguing. I've seen dramatic changes in my life. You know, my chest used to hurt. I used to wonder what that was, and I wasn't eating all this crazy food and stuff. I used to have pain before that led up to that heart attack. I used to have pain and it come and go away. Pain until that one day it happened. And then I was like, damn, that was stress. I told myself that was stress because I was just facing so much, dealing with so much. And you know, yeah, I would definitely say that led up to my heart attack. And my heart attack, like I said, it was 2019. You know, so this is fairly recent. And I said I gotta stay out of stressful situations, and you gotta stay busy. A lot of that depression and that stress stuff comes from not being busy. What are you doing with yourself? You know what I'm saying? Are you just twiddling your thumbs and saying the same old thing, or are you being active? Are you doing things? Are you working out? And working out is one of the biggest stress relievers out here. It's medicine for the body, crying out loud. You will heal yourself and your brain just gets so refreshed from working out. You know, y'all gotta understand we in mental prisons in our brain. You watch things and it influence you. You know, if somebody else doing something, you gonna want to do it. If somebody, we all got our mental prisons. You build it over the years, and you trap yourself into that mental prison. You know, open up, go explore different things, go do different things, talk to different people, do different things, or you gonna stay stuck in that mental prison, having them same problems, around them same influences that do the same things year after year. You know what I'm saying? So it's up to you. You got to be the captain of your ship. You got to lead it. You know, be a leader. You do be different, you know, and don't be afraid too. A lot of people get held back of what other people say, but this person ain't doing nothing. And you influenced by this client. You know what I'm saying? It's just like crazy to me.
And Jason, and
go ahead.
And Justin, the reason why I really was focusing on that stressful part is because I want to tell this story, but I wanted you to kind of speak to it from Lupus. But like you said, we all have issues. Yeah. But one of my stories with stress was I was going through a personal issue in life, and I went to the doctors. I had one of the most excruciating pains in my chest. What it felt like was if you took glass and threw it down on the ground and just scrape it up from shattered glass, and then you just drank it. You drank it. That's the pain that I felt. And I went to the doctor and I'm like, diagnose me. What is going on? What's going on? Why am I feeling this way, right? Mm-hmm. So he diagnosed me and everything. He came back. He says, listen, there's nothing wrong with you.
Oh, wow.
I'm like, what do you mean there's nothing wrong? He says, but I do have a question for you. He says, what's going on in your life personally? I said, well, I am going through some things, he says, tell me about your personal life. I says, well, I'm going through some major personal issues in my family with things that's going on around my world internally. And you know what he said? He says, that's what your problem is. It's stress.
Dang, yeah.
And when he told me that, Justin, when he told me that, I was like, you've got to be kidding me. Stress? Really? Yeah. But he says, yes, you need to get a handle on what's going on in your world, because if you don't, that's what your problem is. Yeah. And that's when I really began to change my mindset about stressful issues, because you don't realize that the toll that stress takes on so many different parts of your body. Mm-hmm. So if you're having these autoimmune issues, and if you don't eliminate stress, you're exercising, and you're doing all these great things, you're eating, but if you're not eliminating that stress, that is going to work against you. And that's why I wanted you to speak to that as well too. So thank you very much for that.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
One of the things that you brought up, Justin, when we first talked was developing a hobby. And that is something that I've always encouraged people in the lupus community to do. Because like you said, they get diagnosed with this disease, and some of them are bedridden. And they're pretty much kind of lying around in bed, probably music's playing. But one of the things I encourage people to do is to just grab a coloring book. Get some colored pencils and just color. If that's all you do, that can be the most relaxing and stress relieving activity imaginable. And if you can get up out of bed, maybe go for a walk, maybe put up an easel and grab some paints and just paint. You don't necessarily have to be a Picasso or or Monet to just slap some paint on a canvas, because that again right there is also so stress relieving. By the time, even if it's the things I used to do, I would take a large piece of paper and just attach it to the fence outside in the backyard, and I would fill up tiny little balloons with paint and just throw them against the paper. They'd pop, and then all of the paint would just kind of drain down. And it didn't create any masterpieces, but it was just so relaxing to hear the balloon pop and then just see the paint kind of drizzle down, So it's just stuff, whatever works for you to bring your stress level down. If it's meditation, then every time that you're in a stressful situation, then take 5 minutes to just breathe. Just stop and just breathe. Or if you need longer, then go off to a private corner and just meditate for a few minutes. But whatever it is for you that you need for that moment, take it. But really find something that's going to help you to relieve your stress level whenever you get into that place.
And not just stress too, like I was saying in the example before, like when I was going through my that time where I was completely healthy to sick as a dog, I can remember the doctor saying, "Oh, he's really sick," and wow, he just ended.
No, you good,
No, you're
Jason.
good.
Go ahead, Justin. Go ahead. You good.
I can remember the doctor saying, "Lord, this guy is really sick," and I'm thinking I'm about to die at any moment. And it's all mental. It's a mental battle that we facing. Everybody got their own battles. Even if you bedridden, you could make it a mission to do whatever you got to do to not be bedridden. Make it a goal. Like when I started saying I'm gonna take myself to somewhere I've never been before, and nobody around me has never been before, I'm gonna be shining like my life changed. Instantly. I was one of the healthiest people you will see. So it's the mindset. You are what you think. You are what you absorb. You can get on YouTube and find stories that's worse than yours, and people conquering it, smashing it. It's all what you doing with your time. If you just gonna sit there and be like, well, you are gonna suffer that fate that you see. But if you inquiring, if you out here know that you can do better, you gotta have confidence too. That's a part of the equation, But if you out here talking negative and doing negative things, that's what you're gonna be. If you say you can't do something, well, you're right, you can't. You know what I'm saying? If you can't make $1 million, you can't. But I ain't gonna say that. I'm gonna say I can. It's on its way. It's about to happen.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? So, we all, it's just you in that own mental prison of yours, and you just gotta learn to deal with those battles. So that's what I do.
And Justin, you talked about in pre-meeting, you talked about some of the things that you like to do that you began to take up. You talked about you started looking into stocks, trading, finance, fitness. You became a videographer, and you just started watching videos on how to make money. And then you started your business. Is that right? Just kind of speak to some of that too, because those are the things that you did to begin to take your life by the horns and do these positive things. So talk about these things, stocks and trading, and how did that help you?
Okay, so you all got to think that value is how the human race succeeds over time. How valuable can you be? If you stuck on the island, what can you do? Can you build a shelter? Can you go hunt for food? Can you go build a boat so we can discover something? Can you? What value is you bringing to your society? You know, and people like to sit around and not work all day. You know, your value is just how you're going to be seen throughout life. So I said, you need to have value. Bring something to the table that nobody else can do. Now, you'll be paid more than anybody around. So you need to take the time to develop skills. That's why I looked into the videography. I said that's a valuable asset that's really not done. There's videographers out here, but you don't see them you won't see them every day. And then fitness, yeah, I'm trying to take myself on a new level. Like that's why I do the YouTube. You know, I want to do something that nobody's doing. Well, people doing it, but it's harder to reach. And then financing. Our society is run off finances. If you know how to manage money and if you know how to make it grow, you're going to be wanted in Alaska if you move to Alaska. You know, I'm going to have a job because I got value. It's just like I gave you the example. If like we on the boat and there's 10 people on the boat, the captain is the last person to get thrown off the boat if he comes to that, because you know why? He has the most value. He can lead the boat to the land if it comes down to it. So we all need to work on our value in the society. And frankly, just because I got lupus don't mean nothing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I try to think about that. Like, you need to provide value to society some way. Figure it out. Do what you like to do and get better and better at. And finances is something I started looking into stocks. I started looking into, I was just looking at this morning, but 401ks, IRAs, and things like that. How can I just explode my value? You know what I'm saying? I want to be valuable, and people gonna know me and they're gonna see me. He's got plenty of value, you know. I want to be able to talk more. You know, I want to be able to inspire. I got so many areas. You know, I fly drones. You know, I can do a lot of things. I now have value anywhere I go. So work on it. If you got lupus, you got plenty of time to sit on YouTube, figure out what you like to do, and get better at it. Attack it and say you're going to be, look up. Don't think about the process, the journey. Think about what you become. You know what I'm saying? Think about what you will be. You know, I got lupus and I'm gonna become this, you know. So I love doing this, studying about money. How can I grow it? And watching the process too. You know, watching my money grow. What investments I'm gonna have. You know, should I start a business next? You know, being a person of many skills, you know, but your lupus story is something you're gonna have to take with you, and people gonna honor you because of what you've been through, but you still part of the human race, and we still gotta work if you can, you know.
Now,
So
and Justin, you also talked about in our pre-meeting, you talked about, you know, you want $10 million in the bank. And you also said you want to create generational wealth.
Yeah.
Why was that important to you? Because we need to begin to speak to those things more, like you said. And I think you mentioned those are some of the things that you feel that's not talked about enough. But just kind of speak to why you like your business is about it being the business of creating generational wealth.
So it comes down to it tells the story about poverty and how dysfunction is in our people's lives, really. You know, okay, say I grew my father, he grew up without his father, and his father didn't give him none, was totally absent. So my father has that mindset, and this is true, by the way. He raises me up, and now he don't give me nothing. He does the same thing. You know why he doing the same thing? Not just because he's saying it from his father. He's saying, my father didn't give me this, so what make you think you gonna get this? I didn't get a car when I was your age, so why you think you gonna get it? And it just repeats itself. And this is a true story. I didn't have all this stuff, so why you think you gonna have it? Instead of I'm gonna give my child everything because I didn't have it, or I want to create new generational wealth. So now she's gonna give her kids this and that because my daddy gave it to me, and it starts right there because I seen it. It plays out in my life. Now you want to treat me bad because you got treated bad. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I was thinking like if we start a pot right now and grow it, we can pass on that generational wealth. And and then it's all how you think. So if you got $10 million, you should have a budget of spending $100,000 for that year, and that's it. And then keep it rolling over year to year, and keep the money growing. And you just live off 100,000 instead of having 100,000 next year. You have 110,000, and man, it goes on and on and on down the road. So it's really that simple. You just got to reach that high level of money, but it's steps you can take definitely to get there.
Well, I just want to say that's one of the reasons, like you said, you study and you learn all these things. That's one of the reasons I created the Black Digital Media TV. This particular platform is to have people on like yourself that can talk to these things and speak to these things. This is what we need to do in our communities. That's what this platform is all about. So one of the things I'd like to do, I was telling Gina, we definitely need to kind of move more in that realm of bringing on business people to talk about creating generational wealth, home ownership, business, things of that sort. But I would like to extend to you, Justin. I'm sorry. Don't ask me why I keep calling you
about
Justin.
to name me Jason.
But anyways, when we do that, I'd love for you to come back and be a part of that.
Right.
And that's what you're studying. So you can share your knowledge that you've learned on stocks and trading and be a part of that conversation. So I'd love for you to come back on and be a part of that if you'd be willing to do that.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. It's a subject I love,
Well, good.
So
yeah, I really love that message that you shared, basically, because I've seen so many people who've been diagnosed with some kind of chronic illness, and when they're diagnosed with this illness, they tend to identify themselves by the illness, and you can do that. And that's really good. Yeah. Right? A lot of people get stuck at the illness instead of trying to say, okay, how can I kind of reinvent myself from here on out? Yeah. Yes, I might have been, this particular person prior, I might have had this big time job doing this for how many years, and then boom, their life gets uprooted because they got diagnosed by lupus or with lupus. Right. But you can't get stuck there in your diagnosis. You have to figure out, and you've done a really great job in stating how that's done. You start learning about different things. Start learning whatever it is that you're interested in. Start, even if it's so different from what you were doing before. Because sometimes I look at it, illness can be a blessing, because it can put you in a direction that you never thought you would even have thought about going. And I'm a perfect example of that, because I was teaching art and sculpture before for 11 years at a cushy private school. And when I had to quit doing that, I mean, I'm still doing art now, but lupus forced me to start thinking of, looking at more natural remedies for healing. And then I ended up becoming an herbalist, becoming a master herbalist, studying aromatherapy. And these are directions I never thought I would ever go. But yet that's what I'm doing, and that's what I'm teaching other people now. So that's a really good message. Don't get stuck on your diagnosis. Learn to rediscover yourself, reinvent yourself, and move on from there. Because your life after lupus can be wonderful.
It can. It's like it's from your perspective. If you think things gonna go bad, well, they're gonna go bad, But if you always thinking about, oh, I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna have success at this, chances are you're gonna have success, or you might be close to it, but you can't be negative. I used to walk around being saying, oh, feel sorry for me, oh, I got lupus, and nobody cares, and it just pulls you around. And I heard one person say, oh, here comes Justin again. And, it just brings you down. So don't be negative. Don't be talking about that. Oh, you got to just try to dust it off. And then you got to start, doing something to better your situation. I can't emphasize that anymore. You have to be actively trying to better your situation, you know. And that's what I try to do. And I still have my days when I'm down. You know, I don't have the success you think on YouTube, but it takes time. You know, you got to work at it. You got to keep trying to keep trying to find avenues to grow my channel and to do different things. You know, it's a path that we all got to take if you want to be successful. The universe is testing all of us. You know, the universe want to see if you can handle this before you get rewarded with your success and that knowledge and that, you know, everything that comes with it. So that's how I look at it. I was like, the universe is watching, you know, so that's what I try to do.
Well, your story, Justin, is definitely being heard, brother. And like I told you when we met first, I think you're inspiring more people than you probably really even know. And I hope this video helps and inspire people. But one thing I want you to do, Justin, give us a success story for you. What in your life, through your journey, what you're dealing with? What's a positive success story that you may have know that you've inspired someone? They may have came to you and says, you've helped me in this way. What's one of those stories that you can share with us?
It's a ton of them, really.
Well, I'm glad to hear that.
I would say, you know, people that I talked to years ago, they would say, they would see my videos or see my pictures or something and say, you inspired me to keep working out and keep going for it, you know. And I would never know people watching me, you know, because people don't comment, they don't like, you know, and you don't think that people watching, but they watching, and you do leave a trail behind you, and people get inspired. People are starting to do things. People are like, I got a drink more water challenge in my Facebook group. Going for the whole month of March, you're supposed to drink more water, but the goal is a gallon of water a day, and they got bottles. I got bottles that you can get on Amazon that you can join in, and we drinking a gallon of water a day to help improve our health, and people doing that, and they see the benefits. You know, they see that water is lacking out of their diet, and you know, it's improving their health. So it's working, but not at the pace that you would expect it, and that always in the back of my mind.
So Gina, anything?
One of the things that I'd like for you to do, Justin, is share where people can find you. Because, you know, after this video, the goal is for people to come and connect with you and learn from you, you know, be inspired by you, which I know that they already are. But so where can people find you? What are your social media sites?
I am on Facebook at Justin Parks. I got a Facebook group called Justin Parks Training, where I do a lot of fitness stuff. I talk about macros, talk about drinking water. I talk about my YouTube videos. I tell the story of my lupus story by posting pictures and showing you my battles I went through. I show you spotlights of different people I look to in the fitness industry and you know, the big Hollywood. That all on Facebook. I'm on Instagram at Justin C. Parks. You know, I do a lot of inspirational things on there too. I make posts. I try to be daily on there. Catch me in the stories on both sites. I'm on Twitter, but I don't post that as much. But I'm on Twitter at Justin C. Parks. I'm on TikTok at Justin Parks, and I'm on Snapchat at JLamar80. So I do a lot of stuff. It's a lot of work posting on them sites, but I try to give a little inspiration on all of them.
Now, one of the things I'd like for people to know is, you know, we've been on here for an hour, but it's impossible to be able to tell a story in just an hour. So I'm glad that you shared all of those sites where people can go and get a little bit more detail of what you actually.
I'm on YouTube as well at Justin Parks. I do YouTube videos, so that should help you out.
Okay. So that's really good that people can, have other ways of finding out a little bit more of your story, because it is so encouraging. And that's one of the things I always share as well. My story is as lengthy as yours is. My journey is along similar lines. So I tend to write about it. I journal about it, post pictures about it. And that's what I've done over the years up until now. So people can go to these different areas and they can find out a lot more detail, because otherwise we could be on the show for the next 3, 4, 5 hours just talking about your journey.
Exactly.
So thanks for sharing those sites with us. And I encourage everyone, if you're watching and you'd like to learn a little bit more or learn how to work with Justin, then just go to one of his social media sites and connect with him there.
Yeah.
Well, you definitely are an inspiration, Justin, because I'll be your first fan, brother. I'm inspired. Definitely, man. So, I mean, you're an inspiration because that's how Gina found you. You know what I mean? She was looking, and it was your story that she came across, and then she says, you know what? We got to have this guy on. So you're already that inspiration. So just continue that mindset that you have. A lot of people I hope a lot of people reach out to you. That's the point of you coming on, and we're just helping to share your story. And just be a part of that. So to those that's listening, please like, share, subscribe. That helps us in the algorithms. That's what this Black Digital Media platform is for. I mean, how many different platforms will bring someone like Justin on, from a grassroots perspective and just help him to tell his story? Hopefully there's more platforms out there that does this, but that's what Black Digital Media is all about. So definitely, Justin, thank you so much for accepting coming on. It's an honor to have you. Like I said, I want to do more stocks and trading and, home ownership. I'd love for you to be a part of that. Come on, Tell your story, be a part of helping to create that generational wealth that you say that you want to see in your community. Sometimes we have to be the change that we want to see. And I think you're a great example of that. So I really appreciate that. So definitely, again, everyone out there, please like, share, and subscribe. And let's get the word out there. And we're going to build this media and keep getting the word out. So thank you so much, Gina.
And I'd like to say none of the information that we shared today is to be taken as medical advice. Please do not start or detract from any of your current pharmaceuticals that you're taking. Make sure you contact your doctor before you add any kind of natural supplements in. Please, please, please do not make any changes to your current protocol without consulting with your doctor first. We're not here to give you medical advice. We're simply here to share an experience. And if you're interested in learning more, you can reach out to myself. You can reach out to Justin and find out a little bit more of, things that he has worked with over his journey as well. But please do not stop any more medications that you might be taking. Do not add any natural products in, because there can be contraindications between natural remedies and pharmaceuticals that you might be taking. So please don't do any of that stuff. All right.
Mm-hmm. And just before we leave, Justin, you mentioned about your book. Did you mention that?
Oh yeah, I want to write a book called Redemption, and it's about my lupus story. So I actually started writing, and I just need help with funding and things like that. And I want to open a gym eventually. So I'm looking for supporters. I'm looking for ways to get that done and just help people, inspire people to be greater. So yeah.
Well, when it's time for you to write that book, we want you to come back on and broadcast it with us. And like Gina says, definitely reach out to us. You can reach out to Black Digital Media TV at gmail.com. You can email us information there, some questions like that. But definitely, I want to see you write that book. So those out there that can definitely be a part of helping Justin write his book, definitely reach out to him, reach out to this platform. We'll get back with him as well too. But we want to see you write that book. And so again, we're honored to have you. Thank you so much for your story, and take care.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you, Justin.
Yeah.
And for everyone who's been watching, thank you so much for your support.